We are live. We are live. Yay, yay, yay. There we go. There we go. I'm seeing them in the chat. We can hear you. Great, great, great. So let's kick this off and get him going as quickly as possible. I just want to say welcome to Triangle InfoSeCon 2021. This event is the crown jewel event for the Raleigh chapter of the ISSA, that is the Information System Security Association. This event is our only fundraiser for the year. It allows us to give scholarships, hold trainings, host our monthly meetings, support Cyber Patriot, you name it. That's what the funds from this event allow us to do. What I would ask for you to do is please network with your peers, continue to be in the chat. You can even do a video call if you want in between the sessions. I know we're tired of video calls. Just a reminder about the sessions that take place after this, they're not going to show up immediately. The sessions will show up 15 minutes prior to their start time. So if you don't see a session that you're trying to go to later, just wait to within 15 minutes of the start time and the session will show up. Let me give a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Please visit their booths early and often. I want to thank all of our session speakers. You guys give us the content that make this conference work. And that's it. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. Now my intro for Mr. or Dr. Cunningham here. He's no stranger to our chapter. He is a past keynote for us. He did a great job, so we decided to invite him back. Dr. Chase primarily guides client initiatives related to Security Operations Center planning and optimization, counter threat operations, encryptions, and just a whole lot of stuff. He helps senior technology executives with their plans to leverage comprehensive security controls. He is an author. His new book is Cyber Warfare, True Tactics and Strategies. Please go out and buy that book early and often. He's also the co-author of Cynja comic. It's a comic series, and he's the host of DrZeroTrust podcast. Please give me a virtual round of applause. Give him a virtual round of applause. Dr. Chase Cunningham.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully we don't have too many more things. I know we're near Halloween, so hopefully we can get into some Halloween side of this. Let me make sure that I am able to share slides, and this should be lining up here. Where's my slides at? All right, interesting. Let's just do the share the whole screen. All right, hopefully you guys are seeing me, so I'm going to turn on slides now, and hopefully you're seeing slides. So can I get an audible yay or nay from anybody? Yes, no, maybe so.
You're good.
Okay, you can see them?
Yeah, I can see him. Go for it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm going to move kind of quickly here because we've been burning time with technical issues. But anyway, that's me. Look me up. Ping me. I did change the price of my current book that just got published this month. So go check that out. It's available to everybody. 2021 roller coaster. Honestly, I'm sick of being on this ride. I want to get off. I think we pretty much burned the theme park to the ground. It doesn't seem like stuff is getting a whole lot better anytime quicker. Or if it did, I'd be there in North Carolina talking with you wonderful people. But it is what it is. All you can do is kind of suffer through it and keep going, and hopefully you ride through the flames. Now, look, October is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This came out earlier in the month, but this was, I think, 7 or 8, 9 days in. We already had the epic dumps. Facebook, the whistleblower stuff continues to get bigger, worse. Cineverse, Neiman Marcus, Coinbase was also hit. Twitch was the other big one. And now it just more and more and more. So we're not even to the Halloween yet, and stuff is still pretty scary. I want this month to be over pretty quickly. I'm sure that y'all do too. And look, this is as of the 7th. Really, the point here was to say, like, it's a chainsaw massacre. Everything that we've seen so far has been pretty nasty. It's not getting better anytime faster. And if we see this, if it's this bad, this fast, how much worse is it going to get as we continue to go on? And this is not about doom and gloom, but this is about being honest and real. Like, the continued failures that we have continue to face us unless we change our approach. So this whole session is kind of around sort of a Halloween theme, because I think it's time for a little bit of levity, but also a little bit of honesty about the cataclysmic threats that we do face. look, there's rules for survival in a horror movie. Horror movies are Halloween related. If you're familiar with the Scream series, Jamie Kennedy was in there, which, by the way, I think it's kind of a wasted opportunity that they didn't murder Jamie Kennedy in that movie, because he's somebody that would be a good murder victim in a flick. But there's rules for survival in horror films. It's that time of year. We're watching lots of horror films. So if we kind of wrap our head around what the rules are for survival in a horror film, maybe we can understand a little bit more about the rules of horror films that kind of apply to what we do in cybersecurity. You want to survive a horror movie, it's kind of basic. Well, at least in theory. So don't get laid. Sex is bad. Sex equals death. If you think about what we talk about in cyber, there's some tie-ins there, and I'll walk through that. Don't drink alcohol and do drugs. Okay, that's a good way to get murdered, because you always see the teenagers going off and doing drugs and drinking, and bad stuff happens to them. If you hear strange things, don't go look for the strange things. Be careful. Curiosity equals death. There's also a twist about that in cyber as well. Never split up. Don't go by yourself. If anyone ever thought of what goes on in a horror movie and seen anybody go, "I'll be right back," and they go off by themselves and they come back, no. Don't trip. If you fall down, don't wait to get back up. If someone else falls beside you, don't wait for them to get up. Keep going. Run. Beware of bathrooms. Don't go in places that don't make a lot of sense, because for some reason bathrooms are always dangerous and dirty. Always have a backup. Always have a spare key. You see this all the time in horror flicks. People drop the key. What happens? Bad things happen. They wind up getting murdered because they forgot to have an extra key. And make sure you check behind you. Look in the back seat. Lastly, if you think the killer is dead, you're wrong. Make sure that you double tap. Look, sex and work machines, pornography equals bad outcomes. If you're allowing people to visit pornographic websites on work computers, or now in a personal computer, and go off and look at things that they shouldn't be looking at because it's not really doing anything for the purposes of work, pornographic material, you are likely to get compromised. Your organization is likely to get hit. And then if you've got VPNs and other things, you're pumping the bad guys into your system. Or maybe it's an extortion type of thing. We've seen you on porn sites, right? You get those folks that get those emails, and they're doing extortion. This is Kevin Bacon, if you're not familiar with the original Friday the 13th, where he was murdered, doing right after sex and work machines equals bad outcomes. So there are ways to get in the middle of those interactions. I'm a big fan of remote browser isolation. These types of solutions make a heck of a lot of sense. So rule number one, just like in Scream movies, sex equals bad outcomes. Sex and work machines, definitely a bad outcome, which also I'd say if you haven't ever seen the original Friday the 13th, go check it out. The work in this space doesn't stop. Honestly, what we want is for people to be like Michael Myers. Michael Myers has been doing the same thing since 1970 something. I think the most recent one that just came out, I watched that like last week. Michael Myers never stops. He's continually doing the same stuff. He just keeps on going. That's what we want. That's what we need in the space. So if we're going to do better in cyber, we need more analysts, more SOC folks that are kind of like Michael Myers, where you just go and do the work and continue to drive at it, and you get there eventually because you've done this repeatedly over and over and over again. It's a good thing to have Michael Myers. He's focused. He does one thing. He's going to continue going after it. And anything that gets in his way is a problem that he will solve, usually with a kitchen knife. And eventually he's going to get to the end target. We need SOC analysts that work this way. We need more SOC analysts that do it this way. But the work that we have never stops. It continues to go forward. We need Michael Myers. We need to remember that the bad guys are human too. A lot of people are scared of the adversary. They're really freaked out about APT. We think of them as this evil empire that we can never beat, that we'll never be able to get ahead of. They're human too. I mean, here's Freddy Krueger, a guy that was set on fire smoking a cigarette. I mean, yeah, this is obviously a twist on stuff, but the thing to remember is while they might be big and scary, and while they might be able to do really nasty stuff that could cause really bad outcomes, they have requirements. They have budget restrictions. They have budget restraints. They have timelines. They have deliverables. They have people breathing down their neck. They have technology limitations. They are tied to infrastructure. They are human too. All we've got to do is get in there and interrupt their sort of cycle of humanity, and we can gain the upper hand in a lot of instances. So is it okay to be worried? Yes. Is it okay to be concerned? Absolutely. Is it okay to be afraid? You don't need to be afraid, because the bad guys are human too. They do have problems. They do have failures. And you can get in the middle of that cycle and break it up, and you start gaining ground. So whenever you're really concerned about the bad guys and their sort of infinite evilness, think about Freddy Krueger smoking a cigarette. There's a lot of value in OSINT, open source intelligence. If you're not familiar with this, this goes back to them being human. It's really good to know a lot about what's going on with those adversaries. The value there is pretty immense. And you can kind of see Freddy looks, very professional on LinkedIn, Facebook, not so much. Instagram, it gets even worse. And then there's the weird thing of Freddy on Tinder. But the point being, there are ways to get really good intelligence on adversaries, on capabilities, on different solutions, on critical infrastructure. OSINT has immense value if you use the right things to gain the right intel and apply it correctly. There's a lot of value in knowing the enemy. They're not so scary when you know more about them. And people think that the evil empire is kind of unknown. You can't figure them out. Yeah, if you go off and do good OSINT and get really good intelligence, you can know a lot about the adversary, and you start to look at them where they're not so scary. You start to gain ground. You start to win. This is super important, super valuable. Remember, OSINT has value. This makes you look at them as human. There is no AI. This drives me nuts. I hear it all the time. It makes me kind of cringe every time someone talks about artificial intelligence in the space. I just published a novel about AI in the space, and I was, went down the rabbit hole on it. But we don't have AI. The singularity has not occurred yet. Honestly, this is a good thing. Think about any movie in a horror scene that you've ever seen that AI works out well for somebody. It never, ever, ever does, right? It just gets worse. And vendors who are selling AI, selling artificial intelligence straight up, that's their thing. They're not your friends. Ultron was not our friend. Skynet is not our friend. AI is our friend. Has never worked out well. HAL on the previous slide was not our friend, even though he talked really nice. Vendors selling AI and the folks pushing this AI narrative, they're not our friends. Do we need machine learning? Absolutely. Do we need augmented capabilities? Yes. Do we need to be able to do things at speed and scale? $1,000,000,000%. Do we need artificial intelligence, or do we want it? No. AI is scary. AI could potentially do very, very nasty things. And AI being sold as a market deliverable is not helping us achieve the objectives that we're trying to solve. It's not making more Michael Myers SOC analysts. ML, yes. There are things that we can put in place that will help us do our jobs quicker, better, faster, that will bolster our defenses and keep the adversaries out and help us win. But it is not AI. There's a lot of value in being able to look behind you. I talked in the rules of this thing, check the back seat. The bad guys are going to creep in from behind. They're probably already there. This is where Zero Trust comes into the conversation. If you've never seen Insidious, go watch Insidious. It's a freaking terrifying movie. But know this, like, the adversaries are probably already inside of the house. They're probably already in there somewhere. They've got an established beachhead. Everything is compromised. Everything is haunted or infected. And they're going to come from behind you. If you're not able to look behind you, if you don't have really good visibility, you're going to miss something. And when you miss something, the adversary is able to creep up closer. And if you watch these movies, especially the Insidious series, it just keeps getting little by little by little until ultimately the bad guy's like right there. And it's terrifying and it scares the crap out of you. But they've been coming for a while. They should have known that this was going to take place. There were lots of indicators, lots of things that kind of were indicative of a problem. And they just sort of look over it, or they don't see it because they're just not looking for it intelligently. And it gets really, really bad. And when it does come to that cataclysmic point, it's too late. So have really good visibility, have really good analytics, and be able to act on it. Have that Michael Myers SOC analyst that's going to do what they need to do to solve the problem, and always be looking everywhere, including behind you. I think this is, in my opinion, since we're talking horror movies, I think this is one of the best horror movies ever made. It follows, in my opinion. If you haven't seen this, go watch it. If you like horror movies, I think it's great. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that bad stuff is transmissible. If you don't know the premise of this movie, it's basically that evil is kind of a sexually transmitted disease. You can go watch it and check that out. But the point of this is, it is transmissible. So it's not that this person ever did anything malevolent, bad. We'll just say bad. I don't know why I'm messing that word up. But the point is, this person who got the evil on them and it follows never really did anything evil. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't go out to try and cause problems. They weren't being, knowingly malicious. They just kind of were at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong person, and they got infected. And because they got infected with the evil follows them no matter what. Now they can pass it on. They can give it to someone else, and then it goes down the chain. And ultimately, hopefully the chain is long enough that it never gets back to them, but you're never free of it all the way either. It's always there. They have to be continually aware of what's going on so that they can stay ahead of the problem. So I think that this is very applicable. I also think this is an awesome horror movie, but really we have to understand that that's kind of what it is. It follows because it's always looking for something to do. And if you allow it to infect you, it's with you for the long haul. By the way, again, like I said, if you haven't seen this movie, it's scary as hell. Go check it out. I really think this is one of the top 5 horror movies in history. Look, this is going to be a long fight. It's going to take a while. We're not going to be in this and over. It's going to be something we're engaged in for the foreseeable future. Cyber is only getting bigger, badder, faster, more technology, more capability, more connectivity. COVID has driven us all into this remote sort of workplace, and it's not going back to the way it was before. I think the last numbers I saw said 33% of the global workforce will never be full-time in an office. You might be there 1 day a week or 2 days a week or whatever. It's going to be more remote, more accounts, more. We are in this for a long fight, and the long fight is going to take a lot of time. So you have to think like Max von Sydow in The Exorcist, when he's like, look, he tells the parents, this will take time. We will be here. We will not let you go. We are in this with you. That's what we're facing. That's how it's going to be. And the evil is deeply entrenched. Part of being involved in that actual combat, right, with the evil, is to be listening to our users. If you haven't seen The Exorcist, another really awesome horror movie, there's a scene where the little girl comes downstairs doing this weird crab walk. And oh, by the way, there's another scene where the mother goes up in the attic and the terrifying white-faced thing is in the attic. Listen to your users. If your kids are coming down the stairs doing backwards crab walks and they say they don't feel good and you see demon faces upstairs, you probably should call a priest. Just like if we're listening to our users and they're saying, you know what, my machine's running slow. My login's not working. I got a weird prompt for an MFA that I never actually logged into. That's how they found out about SolarWinds. All those things from our users are good telemetry to help us see more so that the bad guy doesn't come from behind us. We've got to listen to our users so that we get that information and intelligence from them so that we can actually stay ahead of the threat and not get snuck up on, not have those bad things happen. Be less likely to have the it follows scenario. So pay a lot of attention to your users, listen to what they're saying, and take heed when something weird happens. Even if it's really weird, like someone crab walking backwards down the stairs, that's not just some crazy thing that happened. There's something that caused that to occur that might be something indicative of a bigger issue. Insider threats are very real. They're already in the house. They have admin privileges. They have extra capabilities. They are deeply entrenched. They know the system. A lot of them know where the bodies are buried. They are not friendly to us. Ultimately, anytime there's a compromise, it's all insider threat. And by the way, it's remote stuff, so there's no way I couldn't do a speech without the dogs barking. Anyway, they are already in the house. They are there. They are adversaries that will come up from behind us, like I talked about earlier. And you've got to be ready to deal with that threat, right? When they're telling you that they're there, that's even more problematic. A lot of times we see insiders now that will say, I'm here, I'm doing what I want to do, etc. They will come up from behind you and they will murder you. Insider threats, in my opinion, are the most dangerous thing in all of cyberdom. If cyberdom is a thing, they will come up and they will do bad things to us because they have the capability, they have the motivation, they have the opportunity, and they have the access. If that's allowed to take place and the defenses aren't in place to limit them, you will fail. Now, on top of that, if you've ever seen the Scream movies, you notice that the bad guy is not really good at getting through doors. Like all the stuff that happens to the ghost face dude in that show, he keeps getting bashed into doors. One of the best things that you can do to combat insider threats is segmentation, a la closing the door. If you can keep them contained because of the capabilities, policies, and et cetera that are in place, it's okay. Yeah, they're probably there. Yeah, they might do things. But if you're removing their ability to move inside of the system, you're starting to gain ground. So close the door. Keep the bad guy locked up. You know, I mean, he can kick the door and whatever else, but as long as he's in there, I know where he's at and I can live with it. You should always be questioning attribution and intelligence and the value that you get from that. A lot of times people beat down the door about, we know who did this, we've got attribution, we have intelligence, we have information. Okay, good, but what's the real point? Is it something that you can actually use? A lot of times what we think of as valuable intelligence is just information that's shoved down our throat. It's data. Attribution, honestly, unless you have title authority to do something, probably isn't that valuable to you. Think about it. Are you going to go extradite some Russian cyber criminal? No. Do I really care what their motivation is for being in my system? Probably not. I just want them gone. I just want Ghostface out of my house. I want to be safe. So question attribution and intelligence, because it may not be accurate, it may not be valuable, and it may actually slow down your ability to deal with the threat and deal with the problem. And then you wind up like Drew Barrymore. You don't survive. Segmentation wins all day, every day. I talked a little bit about that with the insider threat problem. If you've not seen this is from 28 Weeks Later, which is another great zombie flick. If you like zombie flicks, the only way to survive a zombie movie is to be in a boat in the middle of the ocean. That's how you win in a zombie movie. Well, what is that? That's really segmentation and isolation. Why does that work? Because apparently zombies can't swim. I don't know if when you become a zombie, you forget how to swim or whatever, but it works. So segmentation will keep the horde at bay. And yeah, it was really crappy that this guy left his family in that movie. But if you're, hardcore into survival and you have no integrity, I mean, he did survive. He ran when everybody else was standing still. And he didn't look back. He just kept on going. So staying ahead of the horde was also a value to him. I mean, yes, it was a very wussy thing to do. And, it wasn't good for him in the long run. But did he survive right then? Yeah. Segmentation, survival, staying ahead of the horde, not slowing down, not looking back, and the value of deterrence are also extremely valuable. So think about surviving the zombie apocalypse and how valuable segmentation can be. If you're in a boat in the middle of the water, you're okay. Zombies can't get to you. Not sucking at patching is very valuable. What do bad guys look for? They look for misconfigurations. They look for old out-of-date stuff. They look for unpatched assets, and they go after it. I do scans every morning on Shodan looking for stuff, and I try and let people know what's going on, and hopefully they fix it. Patch your stuff, fix things. Maintenance matters. Keep your systems up. Keep applications in control. Keep everything as maintained as possible. If you don't, bad things will happen to you. This is Christine. Christine's a great flick. If you're not familiar with that movie, go watch it. But when the car is burning, it's way too late. When the car has, been taken over by an evil force because it wasn't maintained, it's too late. If you suck at patching, you suck at cybersecurity in general, unfortunately, and ultimately the bad guys will find that suck and they will make you pay for it. So keep the maintenance up. Maintenance matters, patching matters, being able to take care of those systems matters. There's a lot of value in moving to the cloud. These movies actually drive me a little bit bonkers. If you've never seen Amityville or The Conjuring, those are great flicks as well. But you always see these people that move into those houses and they just kind of go, oh my gosh, there's terrible things going on here. How do we stay? Like, no, move. Just sell the house. Yes. Is it expensive? And yes, is it going to be problematic? And is it not easy to do? Absolutely. But do you really want to live there when there's like ghosts and dead people and levitation and whatever else going on? Hell no. Move. This is the same thing that we see in cyber, right? Where people are tied to legacy and they don't want to move to the cloud. They don't want to move to new digital infrastructure. And they're willing to deal with the zombies and threats and evil stuff and whatever else that's built into that system, hoping that it will eventually get better. It's probably not in a lot of instances. So what's your choice? Your choice is just to carve it off and move, or isolate it and move, but get away from that thing. Maybe you don't move all together. Maybe you don't move tomorrow, but you move over time. Move to the cloud, move to better digital infrastructure, move to scale. That's what we need to do. That's what makes the most sense. Don't live in a house that's haunted if you don't have to. Find a way out of there. There's no reason to necessarily be afraid. There's reasons to be aware. Now, Honestly, this one was pretty creepy. And if I was in this house, I would be honestly a little bit of afraid. But then again, it's a little kid and I'm a male. I'm a giant. I'm a big dude. I'm 255 pounds. Like I can take on a ghost kid. But don't be afraid. Be aware. Know what's going on in those systems. Know what's going on in that old infrastructure, in that old haunted house, or that old haunted digital space as well. And be willing to let people know what you're dealing with so that you can move on and have a better plan to get out of there. Yeah. Is it creepy? Is it terrifying? Is there bad stuff going on? Okay. Should we be afraid of it, or should we deal with it and find a way to get past it? There's no value. Being afraid doesn't help anybody. Being afraid paralyzes us. Being aware and having a plan to get past the problem, that's where we start to see some real value. So look, wrapping things up, horror movies, we're almost to Halloween. I think this is very, very applicable. It boils down to some very simple points. Porn will get you pwned. Remote browser isolation keeps people off of pornographic websites. You can isolate them and keep them away from bad content. Don't look at porn on work machines. The SOC marches on and must march on and continue going on and on and on. We need that Michael Myers level of focus. We need that continual drive to solve the problems. And if it's in your way, get past it and keep on going. The bad guys are people too, and they will give themselves away. They're nothing to be afraid of. They're nothing to be scared of. They have requirements. They have restrictions. They have issues. They have budgets, etc. Ultimately, if we look at them as humans and we look at them as not the all-knowing entities and the threats that we think they are, we can find out things about them via OSINT and other capabilities, and we can apply controls that will hopefully keep us from being infected with whatever they've got. There is no AI. AI is bad. AI is potentially really malicious. We don't need AI. We need ML. ML works. ML does the right things. ML scales up capability. ML works at the right level. ML, mathematics, hardcore capabilities, that's real. That solves the problem. That helps. Visibility is key to this. Being able to see behind you, see in front of you, see to the side of you, see above you, below you. All those things that we see in horror movies, especially like Insidious, where there is a scene where the guy's on the ceiling. You got to be able to see what's going on. Bad visibility, bad outcomes. Good visibility, better outcomes. It will follow you. It never stops. You can pass it on, but it's never gone. This is a continuous life cycle. You must stay ahead of it, and you must be dedicated, because it will come back for you. If you take your foot off the throttle, it will come back. It follows, and it won't stop. It's going to be a long fight. We're in this like The Exorcist. We got to be tied together. We've got to go at it together. We have to realize that the evil is already there, and we have to be willing to go in and do the work every day to continue to get past this stuff. You might get a little pea soup on you. You might have to jump out of a window. Be dedicated to the mission. Be part of the fix. Listen to your users. Heed their inputs. If something weird is going on, they're telling you that for a reason. Have capabilities to do something about that. Don't just go, oh my God, users are griping again. Take their input, use it. There's probably some value there, and you can leverage that for better outcomes and better security posture. All threats are ultimately insiders. Once they get past the firewall, past the perimeter, and they're inside of a system, especially with an admin account or excessive privileges or etc., they are an insider threat. They have maneuvered into that insider space, and they can do insider things. They are probably the single most dangerous entity that you will face, and they will come up from behind you and stab you in the chest. Insiders are really, really big problems. You should not allow insider type of activity to continue to take place in your space. Intel or attribution is not always gospel, and it's not always valuable. Question the value of that stuff. Don't just take it because some vendor shoves it down your throat. Might not be good, might not be useful. You might not care about attribution. It's probably more important to fix the problem and move past it than it is to wonder about, is this an Iranian APT or a Chinese APT or a French APT or whatever? I want them gone. Segmentation equals survival. I want to be on a boat in the middle of the ocean away from the zombies. If I can do that, survival is very, very realistic. And I don't want them continuing to come after me. I can live as long as I stay segmented and isolated. Segmentation and isolation equals survival. Don't suck at patching. Maintenance matters. Staying ahead of the threat, making sure that your car is not infested with some evil entity. That's what you want to be, because when you suck at patching, other maintenance stuff falls by the side. Bad guys look for misconfigurations. Bad guys look for bad patches. That's where they come in. They will eat you up. Move to the cloud. It's a safe space. Cloud is where capability exists. That's the next step in logical infrastructure development. That's where you want to be. You don't have to stay in that old system. Over time, move off of it, plan, plot, scheme, however, and get there. Start moving, start plotting, start scheming, move out of that old infected, haunted infrastructure. It's really hard to deal with an infected, haunted home rather than just move to a new place and be safe and secure. And don't be afraid. We don't need to be afraid, but we need to be aware. We need to know what threats are there. We need to know how we deal with them. We need to have a plan in place, but we need to not be afraid. Afraid causes us to not act. We want action. We want outcomes. We want fixes. And look, it's not over. It's not going to stop. If you hate clowns, I'm leaving you with this. Ransomware operators and bad guys are out there. They're waiting. They're just sitting there waiting to make us all float, right? You guys want to go under the storm drain? No. Think about what ransomware operators need. They're there. They are doing really bad stuff, and they are looking for you to be weak so that they can come after you. They're looking for you to be afraid so that they can come after you, right? That's what it does. It's the same thing. It's the same way of thinking. Remove what they need to be scary, and they're no longer scary. That's what happens in the movie It, or the book It as well. If you can remove what they use to keep us in fear, if we can remove what they use to paralyze us, we gain the upper hand and we can take back the initiative. Number one thing you should shut down, PowerShell. Number two, enable MFA. If you can do those couple of very simple things, you are limiting ransomware operators' efficacy, and you are beginning to take back control from those adversaries. So hopefully I came through there pretty well. I had some blips on my end on the internet. I apologize, doing the best I can with what I got here. So,
Hello. Dr. Chase, you hear me?
Yep.
All right, man. Hey, great job. I'm sitting here a little nervous. Keep looking behind me after all these slides. Hopefully my kids don't play any pranks on me. So, hey, that was a great talk, man. I love the information. I really appreciate it. I don't know if anybody had any questions. The stream is going pretty quickly. Everybody's giving you a round of applause.
Well, thank you.
So good work, man. If there's no questions, why do you think they picked October for Cybersecurity Month?
Probably scary time, I guess. Yeah. That's a good point. Never thought about that.
So
sorry about the dog too, folks. It's that time of day, and I've got family and kids and dogs, and this is why we need to get back to being together so that they're not here.
Well, I can tell everybody who's watching, we're already getting dates together with the Raleigh Convention Center to be back in person next year. And so, Dr. Chase, maybe we'll bring you just to hang out. You don't have to speak or anything.
Well, I appreciate the invite. Again, apologize for the technical stuff, folks. I'm a big fan of what you guys do. Anyone out there that needs to or wants to chat about anything, please look me up, because this is all I do. Like, I have no life other than this, playing golf and hang out with my kids. So
that's beautiful. All right, then. Well, look, we're going to call it a session. From everybody else who's going to the next session, they should be open now. They open 15 minutes ahead of time. So your 6:30 session, you can start going in there. They'll start, Lord willing, promptly on time. And so we'll see you there. Dr. Chase, hey, great job. Thank you again, man. And we'll be in touch with you, okay?
Yep. Somebody did. I had two things that come. So do you want to qualify the cloud as your safe space? Basically the point there that I'm making is there's more capability, more operational control. Technology works better with this newer digital infrastructure. So the safe space just means moving off that old infrastructure to where things are more dynamic, more capability. You can gain more ground. That's why the government itself is moving into big cloud. So, that whole thing about moving out of your old haunted house, you don't have to live there. Move to the cloud, use the cloud the right way, and you can be more. That's the last green space that we have. And let's see, somebody else said book. Oh yeah, because we're on the chat, let me throw this in here. Where did we go? There we go. So somebody, I have an author page on Amazon. If you're looking for either book, there's the link right there. Help yourself, and please tell me if you think it's terrible or not. I'm always open to people telling me I'm really bad at stuff.
No. Let's see. Dr. Chase, do me a favor. Just email me that link and I'll share it in our system. I got it on the screen, but nobody's gonna be able to type all
Sure. Right.
that. So, all right. All right. Well, again, everybody loved the presentation. I think it was a wonderful, wonderful kickoff. Scared the crap out of everybody, and then send them on their way.
All right. Well, you guys have a great, happy Halloween.
All right.
Thank you again. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Dr. Chase. All right, everybody. Let's get ready for session at 6:30. Please, please, please attend and make nice comments and really, really engage in the sessions. I think you'll like what we got to offer this year, and look forward to seeing you some more here. All right. See you the next session. Bye.